Welcome to Take It from the Iron Woman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Iron Woman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Iron Woman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take it from the Iron Woman. We only have special guests, and today we have Laura with us. I actually got referred or sent to Laura through our friend Elizabeth Lim, who has ran 50 marathon in 2020. She does not stop, but today we talk about Laura. Very happy to finally meet you, Laura. Please introduce yourself. Who is Laura who's going to join us today?
My name is Laura Cozik. I'm from New York City. I own a company called Team Lipstick, which is an all-female triathlon team. And I also own a company called LeveledUP Experiences, which is about teaching women how to get uncomfortable so that they could have major breakthroughs in life.
That sounds fantastic. Wow.
I mean, that's the short answer.
That's exactly what we want. And I'm going to read a little bit from your bio. Laura is the founder of LeveledUP Experiences, a company that delivers fitness, adventure, community, and travel in one beautifully wrapped package. She's also the founder of Team Lipstick, as we heard before, New York City's all-female triathlon team. And then, which I think is really impressive, Laura's background includes 30 years of dancing, 30 years of fitness coach, 10 years as a nationally ranked ballroom dance champion, 3 years as CNN athletic director, and 4 years as a competitive pistol shooter. And since 2006, she has been an active triathlete. Amazing. Tell us a little bit about the highlights that have come out of your fantastic career.
Well, just to hear you say that, it sounds so great. Now I think, how am I going to top that? What's next? I've always been interested in sport. I've always been interested in physical movement. I've always been interested in helping women be courageous and brave, and building a community of women who support each other is very important to me. I think we have to have an all for one and one for all kind of theme behind our support of one another, no matter what level or where you're from or what your background is, that we come together with no judgment. I recreated Team Lipstick based on that. I didn't know it would become a business. I was doing it just because I had done my first triathlon. And when I crossed the finish line, I thought two things. One, that was easy. And two, more women need to do this because I feel like a rock star right now. So I started the team, and what happened next was just absolutely brilliant. And I made sure that even the most talented athletes stayed at the finish line for every triathlon and waited for the very last girl on our team to cross that finish line. Like, it was, you couldn't go and like change your clothes or get in your car and go home. You stayed until your whole team crossed that finish line. And it was a really wonderful bond that we had. And things took off from there. I kind of followed their lead and how well they treated each other.
I know when I started my triathlon career, my modest triathlon career, I always thought of joining a team, and I never did. And I feel like I regret it, because then you're on your own. And what just struck me is, like you said, the people were waiting for the very last person. That would have been something very inspiring for me. Tell us more about that.
As a matter of fact, one of the head coaches for the team, she used to be a member of the team. She was one of the athletes, and she probably could have been on so many podiums, but she would stay in the back and run with the girls who were struggling, or she eventually became head coach of the team, and you can see why. But, you know, she taught us all how to do that, how to have that kind of support for one another, because once she did it, then other girls and other women started doing it. And it just is a super, super powerful thing, because you give a little, but you get back 10 times what you give. And it's not just athletics, although it is, because you do get super fit. You develop this mental toughness, the mental toughness that you can accomplish whatever you want in life, that if someone tells you you can't do it, now you really want to do it. You take this into your career, you take it into your personal relationships, and you don't settle for less because you know that whatever you want is yours for the taking. So that's how it kind of steamrolled.
You just talk from my heart. I think a lot of people look at me and they're like, you did the Ironman? I'm like, yes, I did. And sometimes when we put the lipstick on, and I do that on purpose after the event, when I take a shower and everything, I want to look like a woman, and I put on my lipstick and I'm proud of the accomplishment. And then people look at you and they're like, you cannot be a triathlete or anything. I think in sports, you can be ourselves. We can show our strength. But then we also show it in business.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I embrace all things feminine because I was a ballroom dancer for many years. I've been a dancer on stage my entire life since I was 4 years old. And I just love makeup and hair and nails and high heels. And I love all this fun girly stuff, although I haven't had a pair of heels on my feet in about 2 years. But I'm a little more sporty side now. But I embrace all of that. And I don't think it's weak. Here's one example. It's just a small example, but if you type in to Google women's push-ups, you're going to see a whole bunch of women on their knees doing push-ups. And that bothers me, that's what people think, that's what the universe thinks.
And you're certainly the person to change that. Tell us a little bit, like on the lipstick team, how many women were on the team? And you told me before we recorded that there were multiple cities that were participating in the lipstick team.
New York was always the biggest city because I was in New York. So we did a lot in New York, and the team was really strong for 10 years. We probably saw about 1,000 women go through the program, the beginner program. So that was our thing, is we trained you to do your first ever triathlon, which was so fun. I could tell you a million funny stories about women doing their first triathlon ever, women who could not swim, did not own a bike, hated running, and yet they were signing up for this because, why? They wanted to break down barriers. They wanted to crash through walls. So that was their choice. But we did have a team in New Jersey. We had one in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. was probably our second most popular. And Austin, Texas. We also had a team there for a while.
And now tell us some stories. Tell us some juicy stories. I have to say, crossing the first triathlon ever in your life is probably the biggest achievement you can do. I wasn't the best swimmer. You completed. I think that's the most important. So tell us some stories from your team.
It is a big accomplishment. You're absolutely right, because you have to swim, bike, and run. And you have to do this in a crowd of other people, and you have to do this in a body of water you maybe have never been in before, and there might be cars on the road when you're cycling, and there are just so many elements you don't even think of. So you're right, it is a very big deal, but it's harder mentally than it is physically, I think. The swim is scary.
Yeah.
So funny story, there was one woman on the team, her name was Emily, and she was a great athlete. It was her first triathlon she was training for, and we did not know that she was afraid of swimming until we got her in a pool that had a deep end. So she was swimming from the shallow end to the deep end, and she got halfway across the pool and turned around and swam back, and she was hysterical crying, and she said, I can't do this. The pool was getting deep and she couldn't see the bottom and she was freaking out. Then we took her to the beach. We put her in a wetsuit. She got in the water. She thought she was drowning. She said the wetsuit is weighing her down. It's choking her. And she was crying. She was ripping the wetsuit off. And then she did the New York City Triathlon, and there were something like 400 women in her division, and she won. So she took first place in her age group. It was her first ever triathlon. And I just think back to those struggles that she went through mentally, but didn't quit. So we have a hashtag that says it's not hard anymore, which is not exactly true because it's always a little hard.
It's always hard.
It's always hard, but it's not as hard for sure.
The New York City Triathlon is something because for the listeners, for one thing, you swim in the Hudson, and the Hudson is not really see-through water. And I remember I think in 2010, they had a sign, if you need psychological help, now is the time. And this is before you enter the water. And it's a little, I was anxious to do that. But on the other hand, on the positive note, there is a current. So you get the fastest swim time ever If whoever wants to do that, try it. It's something.
Yeah.
And if you have completed it, you can brag about it.
Absolutely. Bragging rights. We always wore our medals that we got at the finish line out for cocktails that night. Everyone had to wear their medal because it is a big accomplishment.
It's jewelry. Let's put it this way, right?
That's true.
I'm sure you have inspired many, many people. Give us another example. This is so beautiful.
I remember another woman who came to the park in a pair of sneakers with her bike, and she had her cycling shoes with the cleats because we ask women to clip in to the bicycle on the first day. So there's no riding in sneakers. You're going to clip into those pedals on the first day. And I will tell you, although I never tell them this until after, they're going to fall a bunch of times. But wearing the sneakers first and then putting them on, you're still going to fall a bunch of times. But you only fall that one day, and you fall at 0 miles per hour, so you don't really get hurt. But she showed up. She was not wanting to clip in. Her helmet was on backwards. She had the sneakers on. She was like absolutely refusing to put the shoes on. And we sat there and we had this big fight, and she finally put them on and she started cycling, and she became a cycling coach for the team down the line. She specialized in beginners because she knew what it was like to go through that.
But these stories are just fantastic, to say the least. Like, so you hear the woman who overcomes her fear for the swimming. You hear the woman who overcomes the fear of cycling, clipping in. I remember when I clipped in the first time, and I might have to add a story here. When I bought my first performance bike, it was windy in New York City. I walked the bike home because I was afraid I couldn't bike home. I'm sharing a big secret here.
Yeah, but it's the first time you do something, it's harder than the second time, which is harder than the third time. It just gets easier.
But at least we can share some stories. We can laugh about those stories. And I think we just learn from there. So this is absolutely fantastic.
I have my own. There was one triathlon I did where I panicked in the water. And I get motion sickness, and the water was very choppy that day. And so 2 of the women on the team swam next to me. And I told them, I'm getting out, because we stopped in the water. We were treading water. We were talking. And I was like, I'm getting out. And they're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're going to finish this. And they stayed with me, one on my right, one on my left. And they got me all the way to the end. And then we got on our bikes and we started heading it out on the course, and motorcycles starting following us. And I was like, wow, this is a really cool race. There's like a motorcycle escort. And then I realized there's a motorcycle escort for the last person, not for anyone else. So we were dead last in that race. I have to tell you, we had the most fun because now it wasn't about our time. It was just, let's go have some fun.
That's fantastic. Congratulations, right? We finished and you feel special.
Yeah, it's much more rewarding when it's hard. I think women who seek out challenges like this probably wouldn't seek out something much easier because they wouldn't find benefit in that.
Yeah, that's true. So thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Wow, what a cool story. Team Lipstick. What are you taking away? Put on your lipstick when you're done with the event. Take it from the Iron Woman. We have episodes every Monday, every Wednesday. Check in, chime in. There's something for everybody, something inspirational and motivational. Take It From the Iron Woman is also a book. You can get it on Amazon. It's either an ebook or a paperback. And coaching and mentoring is available for everybody.